Let's get started with the adding more HTML and CSS activity. So to start, you're going to want to open up the activity and look at the directions. Now it references some of the HTML and CSS pages that you've already looked at. If you are going through this activity and having a hard time, or if you just need a refresher, you can check those out. That's why they're linked here. Okay, so step one is to review the wireframe. Again, this is the wireframe that was provided for us for the Whitewater River Rafting website. And remember last week that we added some of the structural tags to make it, to set it up for the styling. So this week we are going to get started on some internal links. So I'm going to pull up my glitch page. And here's my project here. And here's my index page. And we will preview it next to the code. Alright. So, internal links. Now we talk about the nav elements, and it has the links inside of it with the list. Now each list item needs to have an anchor tag because those anchor tags are your links. Now remember from your Khan Academy we have to use the Href Attribute to put the link in there so it knows where to go to. So now each item needs to look something like this. So let's go to my web page and check that out. Okay, so I have my items already in here. I did this last week, and we already have the href here, but it goes nowhere. So we don't have pages for these yet. I don't have a blog page. I don't have an FAQ page, but I'm going to put in the index.html, and then for the FAQ, I'm going to put index.html for now too. Later we will replace these once the pages are created. But for now we don't have to do that. Okay, so let's keep on going. So we just want to remind you from your Khan Academy lessons that sometimes, if you've noticed as you've used links on the web, sometimes the links open in the same page and sometimes they open in a new tab. So to have them open in a new tab, you can use the target link attribute. So, sorry, I'm reading this real fast. Okay, yeah, that's what, so yeah, if it takes you away from your current site, then you want it to open in a new tab. Because all of these links take you, you're on the same site, we don't need to have them open in a new tab. However, we are now going to add some social media links to the footer. If you check out the wireframe, we can see those social media links right there. And those ones we do want to open a new tab because they take you away from our website. So to get these added, you need to choose at least 3 social media sites that you want to link to. So to do that, we are going to create a spot for it in the footer. So the instructions say to add a div with a class of social in the footer below the paragraph that's already in there. So here's my footer, and here's my paragraph with my copyright information. So now I'm going to create another div and give it the class of social. And now I need to grab some of the images. So in the past, when we've gotten images, we have right-clicked on them and grabbed the image address. In this case, we want to download the images and put them on our site directly. So let's see which ones I want. I want to use these white images. I like them a little bit better. So I'm going to do save image as Pinterest. And for this website, you guys are more than welcome to use your own icons if you find some. But these are provided for you if you need them. So we'll save this one as Instagram. And then we'll do Facebook too. Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. Those are my favorites. Do you guys use TikTok at all? Should have a TikTok. Okay, so select 3 social media sites. We've done that. We've added that div. And now we've grabbed the images so that we can do that. So now we can grab this image tag as an example and put that into our site. Now again, if you are struggling with HTML links, there is an article right here that you can read about. I am going to walk you through how to do these ones, but again, you really need to know this content because at the end of the semester, you're going to be creating a website all on your own, so it's really important that you know this. Okay, so our social, let's see, the Facebook icon. Here's the icon, but the image isn't showing up because I need to put them in here on my own. So upload an asset. Let's upload Facebook. And then let's upload Instagram and upload Pinterest. Okay, so here's my images right here. So I can click Facebook and copy that and then go back to my index page, and right here where I have my image source, so the source is telling them where is that image, and then the alternate text is Facebook icon. So I picked a white image, so I can't really see it, but I can highlight it and see that it's there. And then my Instagram tag, let's grab that image source, go back to my index page, and then add my next icon. So we need our image tag, we need our source attribute, which I just copied that link, and now we are doing our alternate text. So in case this image doesn't load, or if someone has a screen reader, they know what it is. And this is my Instagram icon. Okay, and then let's close that tag. And now we just have one more icon to add, the Pinterest. And if we go back to the index page, then we add image, source equals, put in that link there that I copied, and then the alt is Pinterest icon. And okay, that one's still not coming through. Oh, you can see because I can see what I did, but here's this dot. It says special characters must be escaped. So there's some sort of special character in here, and when I look through my code, I can see that I have 2 equal signs. So is that not all I did? What else did I do? I also forgot my closing tag, and that was it. So it's really easy to do things like that, so pay attention to those errors that show up and look closely at your code when they do. Alright, week 4, going back. Okay, now we're going to add CSS. So again, here are some of your readings that you've already read through if you need to check them out. So in Khan Academy, when you've been going through your lessons, they've had you in the head tag here. Here's our head tag. They've had you have your style tag in here, and you've written your CSS up here. There is a better way to do this. So they do it that way for the purposes of learning the basics, but now that you've kind of got that, we're going to show you the one thing that's better. So right here we have this link, and it is a style sheet, and then here's the link to it. So if you check out our files over here, you have a styles.css, and that's the page that we're linking to. So we have our index, and it's linking to styles.css. It actually does not need that slash. So yeah, we're linking to the style.css file. So read more about here so that it tells you why. The link tag tells the HTML file where to find the CSS and how it should style the page. So instead of adding that style tag, again, we're linking to a separate file. Now we want to add some color. So we created our site plan a couple weeks ago and we picked some colors, and now we are going to use those colors in our website. So headlines, we want them to stand out. So size is one way to accomplish that, and color is another. So we're going to change the colors of our headlines so that they stand out. Okay, so let's color our H2 elements. So we're going to go to our CSS file and we are going to add a background color. Let's see if it wants us to add anything else. So we'll talk about these three elements as we do it. I'll show you the selector, the declaration block, and the declarations. And then we will add a background color. And we are going to make all of our headlines the same color because if you have multiple types of headlines on the same web page, it just adds consistency to that. Okay, and I will show you how to do that with one rule. So let's go in here and go to the styles.css. Now we wanted to change our H2 tags. So it was styling H1 tags, but we actually didn't have any H1 tags. So when I did that with the H2 tags, they showed up there. Okay, and so now I need to check out my site plan. So I'm actually going to open this in a new tab so I can look at my site plan. And here's my primary color. I don't think that's a very good color for headings. Oh, and remember I picked the brown color for my headings, so I am going to use that. And instead of background color, I am just going to do color. And I'm okay if you guys do the same thing. Okay, so now I have my H2s have the brown color, and we talked about making all of the headings have the same color. So we could do like an H1, and then we could do the H3 like that, or we can do them all within one block. And so how you do that is with a comma. So you do H1, comma, H2, comma, H3, comma, H4, there we go. Going too fast. And then there are 6 headings. So now we have all 6 headings. If there were any more headings on here, they would all be that same brown color. Now I'm going to go back to my index. Last week I did not do the additional headlines, so I'm going to add those in real fast. It's going to look exactly the same for both, but that's okay. I will change it later. Now at least I have multiple sections on there. Okay. Now let's go back to the website or the instructions, and now it talks about adding a little bit more structure. So we're going to create a content div to go around all of it. And so the reason for this is because we want to style all of these things the same for certain styles without having to target all of them. We want to put them inside of a container. So we are going to go back to the index, and here I have my main, there's my footer, and here's my header, and so they're all inside the body. So I'm going to go below the body, type my div. And now it gave me a closing div automatically, but I need to get rid of that because I actually want to wrap all of these elements in it. So now I'm going to go below the footer and put my closing div. And now I'm going to grab all of these, highlight all of it, and then hit tab so that it's correctly tabbed in here. Alright, back to the instructions. Now, okay, so now if you look at my site, let's open it in a new tab. The content can stretch as far as my web browser, and right now my window is kind of wide, and some people even have computers where their screen is even wider than mine. So the content can go pretty wide. Our site plan makes it so the content can only go a little bit wide. We've set the width, and we're going to do the same thing. So we are going to set the width or the max width. We're actually going to do the max width, and I will show you why. So setting a width, we are going to do 960 pixels. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to go into our styles, and we just created that div. Oh, except for I forgot to give it the class. So let me do that real fast. Class is content. Okay, now we go to our styles, and we are going to style it with the class. Remember, the dot is how you, oops, not what I meant to do. Stop. The dot is how you grab a class. Okay, so this is, now we're creating our declaration block. Now we want to style the width. So I'm going to do max width is 960 pixels. So let's check that out. I need to refresh. And now it should have the max width as 960 pixels. Should. Let's check. And it might not be doing anything just because we don't have it styled yet, but let's see. Okay, yep, it has my max width there. And I want to show you real fast why we're not doing width. Now if I did width equals, let's say I was like, I want the width to be 1200 pixels. Now I'm letting it be a lot wider. And even though my screen is getting smaller, it's not changing. Now if I go back and do the max width again, which was 960. Now watch. As my screen gets smaller, see how my paragraph's wrapping? So it's very important that you don't set a large width on things, because if people have smaller screens, and a lot of people do, lots of people will view your sites on their phone, we want this to be responsive so that they can see all the content. Okay, so that's why we're doing a max width instead of a width. Oop, so many tabs. Okay, so we have our max width. Now back to our instructions. Alright, now we're learning about block versus inline elements. Okay, so this is kind of a tricky thing. By default, your heading elements, they're what are called block elements. So let me show you an example of that. So by default, they take up a full line. Okay, have you noticed that almost every single element that you've put on the page, they take up their full line. So the logo, that div is taking up its own line, and then when we go into the navigation, each list item is taking up its own line because they're block elements, they're display block. Now if we go to, well, like an image or a link, sorry, a link is an inline element. Because if I put other text in here that wasn't a link, oh, here, I'll do it in my code and then show you. Go to my index, and then home and more. Okay, this isn't really a good example. You wouldn't really want to do this. This is just to show you about inline elements. So home is inline because it doesn't make all the text go on a different line. It's not a block element. So if you read more about this in the instructions, it will probably make a little more sense, but I just wanted to show you that example. So the inline elements are also why your navigation bar is horizontal or vertical instead of horizontal. And so later we'll be able to play with we'll make them into inline elements instead of block elements so that they are horizontal. So you get a nice horizontal navigation bar. Alright, so centering. We have our div element, our content element. that has the max width of 960 pixels, but my content is still only on the left and I kind of want it to be in the center of the page like the site plan. So to do that, we are going to use the margin property. So now right here we're talking about the difference between centering inline elements versus block elements. Div elements are block elements, and so we are going to use margin. Now if we were talking about inline elements, we would want to use the text align property. So our div again is a block, and so we are going to use the content, and oh, I'm seeing that they used an ID, and so I think I was supposed to use an ID on my content. Yep, instead of a class. So I'm going to change that real fast. So we'll put ID, and then I need to change my CSS too. It needs to be hashtag for the ID, and then content. Okay, all fixed. Now if we go back, we can see our block centering. So we need to center it. So to do that, we have our content here, and we are going to do the margin, and we're going to do 0 and auto. Now let's show you how that works. So I refreshed the page, and so it has auto margin on the side. So I did 0 and auto. The 0 is for top and bottom first. So the top and bottom has 0 margin, and the sides have auto margin. So real fast, if we open the inspector again, and we play with this, here's our ID. Now, oh look, and in here you can even see the box elements here. So here's our margin on the sides. It's just auto takes up the auto amount of space to get it in the center. Now if I wanted to change the 0 to like 100 pixels, now you can see that there's 100 pixels on the top and 100 pixels on the bottom. We want it to be at 0 on the top though, so we're going to go back to 0. I just wanted to show you how that worked. And also if I did like 100 pixels here, it's only going to put 100 pixels of margin on each side. So now, see, now it's not all the way centered because there's 100 pixels over here and there's only 100 pixels over here, and then the extra space is just extra space. So that's why we want it to be auto, so that it just takes up whatever space is there. Alright, so we're all centered. Now inline centering, so we just centered a block element. Now we want to style or center an inline element. So on the wireframe, that bottom text section is centered. Let's take a look. See this section right here? Come run with us. It is. It's all centered. So we need to add the text align center to that bottom section, and we're going to use the class that we have already placed on it to apply that style. So if I go to my CSS, then I should be able to use, well, I'm going to go check my HTML real fast and find, okay, yep, I used the class home paragraph 3, and I'm going to go to my CSS and again use the dot so that I can use that class, and then put the class name in there, and then say text align center. Let's scroll down and see, now the heading is centered and the text in the paragraph is centered. Perfect. Now next we are going to do the background color. So it talks about we could add a background color to the body, or we could add it to the content paragraph. Because if we look at our code, both the body and the content div contain all of the other elements. So we could use either. However, we're going to use the we're going to use the body tag because later we're going to color the content tag something else. So I'll show you that. Okay, so here's our body tag. Well, I want to show you real fast why we are going to use the body tag. So if we take our content and we add our background color of, let's say, green. Now I can see the background color here, but let's refresh over here. And because I put a width on it, it's not going to do the entire background. That's why we need to do the body. Okay, so I am going to select the body element, and I have my brackets, and now I just need to pick my color. I'm going to go back to my site plan, and here I can see I picked that yellow color for my background. So I'm going to use my primary color and do background color. There we go. Okay, now my background color is yellow, and also you can see my social media icons, which is awesome. Alright, now that we have our background color, let's go back to the instructions. Okay, so we have our background color. Now we want to do link colors. So our nav. Ready? Watch this. What color do I want my nav links? Let's go back to my site plan and check that out. When I go down to my nav, I can see that I chose my green color as my navigation color. So let's go there. Back to my code. Color. Except for nothing happened. Did you guys see that? I picked green and there's still like blue and purple. So let's go back and see what other advice they have for us. So we applied the color to the nav, but we have anchor tags in there, don't we? And the anchor tags have default styling. By default, they're blue. And because of the way CSS works, it takes that blue default styling unless we style something specifically to it. So we're actually going to have to grab the anchor tag inside the nav tag. So to do that, we have our nav, and then if we want to grab the anchor tags inside of the navigation tags, we just do a space and then an A, and that says, hey, any A tags inside the navigation tags. And now they're green, which is awesome. Okay, now more background color. So depending on the color you chose for your background, some of your paragraphs might be difficult to read. Mine's not too bad because I chose yellow, but I know some of you chose pretty dark colors. And right now you might not be able to read anything. So we want to change the paragraphs inside the main element to a white color. Okay, so let's go back here and we're going to grab the main element and do background color white. And now here is our main element and the background color is white. And so if you want to see this on the full screen, here's what it's looking like so far. Okay. And now we just have to check our work. So we did the validation activity last week, but I want to show you guys how to go through it just in case. So let's go to our validator, and you can do it two ways. I'll show you both. You can do through direct input. So I'm going to find my HTML, copy that, paste it in, and run a check, and looking good. And I can also do, let's see, let's refresh. I can also do by the URL. Now, you'll notice some interesting things depending how you do this. So you'll want to grab your live app link. If you do your project page link, I want to show you what happens. You're going to get a lot of errors that are going to be kind of confusing because if you look at it, you're like, wait, my page doesn't have any of these things. Because this is the page you just checked. This page. So you want to make sure that you are actually checking your page. So here's my URL for my actual page. I'm going to check that. There we go. And it looks like it is good to go. So I hope that helped you with this week's assignment, and I'm excited to see your sites with a little more styling and color. Each week we will get closer to it looking like the final wireframe.